Morning, Piggy.
Morning. It's a Friday morning. Tomorrow it's gonna be for tomorrow though, so it's Saturday morning.
It's cold, burr.
It's cold, burr. Where's the bear? Don't see no bear.
It's in the woods hibernating if it's smart.
Probably. Oh me. Well, it's Friday morning. We're gonna mosey on back home. We've dropped our charge off for the day. Hadn't done nothing the last 2 days because they were closed Wednesday. And she had an appointment yesterday.
Well, we got out and went to the grocery store yesterday for a minute.
Well, we did, yeah. But that's too short a trip to do a video.
Yeah.
But we did. She made some sandwiches for a video that's coming out today. Y'all will have seen it by the time y'all listen to this.
If you follow my channel.
If you follow her channel. Eileen, welcome to my kitchen. So, boy, that sandwich was good too.
It was.
We did it with toasted bread on the video. We did the other one later on that wasn't on video. Just on the bun untoasted. And they're both really good. The untoasted I could eat better because it weren't stiff. The toasted one was good. I just had a harder time getting my mouth around it and crunching it down. So, but it was still really good.
Oh, it was.
Oh man.
A chopped Italian sub.
Yeah. Ginger, we mentioned you in that video too, talking about your Italian. That stuff makes a difference.
It does. I don't like Italian seasoning. But man, that stuff's good.
Well, it's because most Italian seasonings are overdoing it on some things, not being truly Italian.
Yeah.
What Ginger does, yeah, that's Italian.
That's good stuff.
Man, Marty Ray Chopic used to tell me that came up. He said, you ain't had real Italian until you've had it by somebody who is Italian and cooks Italian and knows how to cook Italian.
Mm-hmm. I would say there's 3 people that I know of right offhand that cook. 2 that you know. Well, yeah, actually, you know all 3 of them. That's Michelle.
And
It's all mine. And then, of course, Marty Ray Choppy, who is Italian and cooks.
Yeah.
And Robert Pulse.
Oh yeah, Robert would know.
Yeah.
He's not just Italian. He's Sicilian.
Yeah.
So you better not cook his Italian wrong, because he gonna tell you about it.
But like I said, you know, right offhand, those 3 I know, I would sit down to eat their cooking anytime if it's Italian.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have.
I'd sit down and eat their cooking anytime, whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying,
Especially Italian.
Right. That's where I was getting at, you know, because I'm very picky about what I eat as far as Italian foods.
Yeah. Marty, because he is Italian. Michelle, because she is Italian.
Yeah.
Robert, because he's Sicilian, and he's extremely smart and well-traveled, and he's got a rather refined palate.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'd love to meet that man one day.
I'd be a third wheel there. I'd just be sitting off to the side doing my thing while y'all talk.
Oh, he'd include you. He would include you.
Oh, I know that. I'm just saying I'd feel like a third wheel.
He's a very well-groomed gentleman.
Yeah.
I'll say that. You know, he's a scientist. He's a brainiac. And like I said, he's well traveled. He's studied at and worked for some very prestigious universities, Cambridge being among them.
Yeah.
And this is back during the time when they actually made you work for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, those three right there, they could cook Italian, no problem. Would love to try their cooking. Well, you turn your blinker on after you've stopped. Gracious, he was looking at me like I was a dip. He's out in the intersection, stopped, and then he turns his blinker on after I started to go. Because I was waiting on him, he wasn't moving. I started to go, he turns his blinker on. People are funny.
Yeah.
Well, folks, we got stuff going on in the USA.
Yeah.
And something that's supposed to start on January 20th was going to be handled delicately by comparison. But because of those events that have recently happened, I can guarantee the kid gloves will come off and it's not going to be pretty. I'm going to love it. You know, and as far as those recent events, don't be fooled, folks. Those who lost are what's behind all that. Last-ditch effort to do something. And that's why January 20th, I'm going to love it, because kids' gloves are going to be off, and it's going to be time to throw down. As I explained it to one, it's going to be a case of wreck it, Ralph, and clean it out.
Defense, whip it good.
Right. We was talking about that right before, while we was on the way taking her to the daycare. You know, need to play Devo when they do that. Da-da-da-da-da. Dun, dun. But and I don't feel sorry for those folks.
Nope.
You know, because plain and simple, this nation is a nation of laws. And it's a nation that believes in freedom of speech and pew-pews. The second protects the first. And I don't blame people for wanting to come here. I'm all for it. Do it the right way.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, do it the legal way. You know, now there used to be a time when I was, you know, before all the dregs of society worldwide were being allowed to just flood over the border, I was kind of like, well, you know, you had the wherewithal to make it here, you know, albeit illegally. At least try to make it legal and get it right and everything. And when you do come here, be about the American way. I worked with a lady once, and she spoke almost perfect English. She's a Mexican lady. Not the world of it. So one day, I asked her to translate for me because I was a supervisor and I needed to speak to my crew. At the time, all that well. So she came and translated for me. During that translation, when she got done translating what I had to say, in front of them, she looked at me and she said, "Don't let them fool you. They know every word you're saying." The looks on their faces was priceless. She busted them all out. So we left the break room and everything. She headed back to her department, and on her way, I told her, I said, "You speak great English." I said, "You speak great Spanish. How come I don't hear you talking in your native tongue more often?" She told me straight up, she said, "I came to America to be an American. In America, you speak English." That's not from me, folks. That comes straight out the mouth of a Mexican lady who knew what it was about. And when I worked for another place, my translator, yeah, she'd speak Spanish among her friends and among the crew and everything when they'd break and different things, all like that. But she spoke very good English, probably better than me. But you know, she was kind of the same way about it. And I had them on that crew that I was the lead person of. You know, a lot of the young ladies that, you know, pretty much all they spoke was their native language. That's why I had a translator. Some of them were here illegally, but there was one thing about them. Even though they'd gotten here illegally, they were taking measures to try to become legal because they wanted to be American citizens.
Yeah, there's a lot to get here and don't want to do that.
Right. And no, there's a lot that want to come here, work about 10, 15 years, send a bunch of it back to where they come from to be stored back so that after 10, 15 years, they go back home and live like kings the rest of their life. And that's what they do with it. That's one of the ways of what used to be called the fleecing of America. Yeah. And with those in my crew, they were taking measures to become legal. And everything. And I knew about others who were doing other things to help people get here. But those that did were taking measures to become legal once they got here. They weren't just here just to rip America apart and go home. You know, and don't get me wrong, I don't blame them. They had an opportunity to get here and do what they're doing. That's our government's fault for allowing that. Yeah, so I don't blame them. I blame our government. You know, I've said it before. Imagine the worst you can imagine of how bad the government could be. Multiply that by a couple of million times, and you might start getting close to how bad they really are.
Mm-hmm.
How evil they really are. And because they're that bad. And don't be fooled, I'm just going to tell y'all, the news ain't going to tell you. And a lot of the talking heads out there are either too young to know, or don't think strategically and tactfully, tactics. But y'all, we in a war. We're in a type of war that nobody's ever seen before, so they don't recognize it as a war. But we are literally in a war. All that flooding of the border, that was bringing in fighters that would do the bidding of the government. And that's what they're beginning to do. You know, we're in a war of one nation trying to take over another nation without being seen to be in the mix, staying in the shadows. But you got to study out the philosophical ideology of that other nation to recognize that what's going on is what they do in order to take over a nation. They start in the schools. They get people placed in positions of power strategically. And after about 20 years, they start, they've taught their own group what they want them to know. And some people might say, oh, well, it's Soros, he's funny. Soros ain't even got that deep of pockets, folks. As much money as he's got. Think about it. How's he able to do all he's doing and still be as rich as he is? That's because the nation that has been stealing from us through unfair trade practices have been using that money to bribe a lot of our politicians and supply Soros with money to be able to do all the things that he does. Soros is a puppet. He's always been a puppet. He was a puppet for Hitler. I heard a video talking about how all the philanthropy that Soros does. He ain't being philanthropic. He learned from a master of evil. He ain't philanthropic. He sold his own kind out and then robbed them and helped to rob them. He's a Jew and he sold out his own people to the Nazis. So he's always been a puppet for those who are evil, bad evil. That's why people don't see it for what it is, because it's slow moving, a lot of tactics in it, a lot of strategy in it. It's slow moving. It's like a chess game that a couple of old men have been working on for the last 3 years, 10 years, 20 years. They'll make a move and then they'll think about it for months on end, what they're going to do next. Well, the ones actually behind all this works in increments of 100 years at a time. They're thinking that far ahead. That way they can slowly take over another nation without that other nation realizing it. It's like one Russian leader one time back in, I think it was 1959, he told United States straight up, I think it was at NATO, we will feed you socialism a little at a time till one day you wake up to full-blown communism.
Lenin?
I don't know if it was Lenin. That don't sound right. But anyway, and that's what's been going on. Well, there's changes in Russia. It ain't Russia that's trying to, well, I won't say it. They ain't trying to do it. There's two nations out there that are among the top 3 superpowers in the world. America's one of them, Russia's one of them. Y'all know the other one. It's that other one that's behind it all, folks. You know, we got politicians been caught having Chinese spies as chauffeurs for 30 years, having sex with them, and all like that, and different things. You know, that right there is your proof of how embedded they are and how many politicians are sold out and have betrayed this nation. Trump sees it. He knows what's going on. And there's a few others, but it ain't been outright said yet. Folks, I'm sorry, they ain't but one punishment for a traitor to their nation, especially on that high level. And ain't but 2 ways it can be carried out. I think some of y'all know. That's what's going on. We're in a war. Most people just don't recognize it because they ain't never seen that type of war. But that's what we're in. We're in a war. And, you know, people are starting to wake up. They starting to see the fringes of what I've known for a long time. And it's got to get worse before it gets better, because things are being done to try and prevent what's coming on January 20th. And I think everyone involved with that attempt needs to be tried by a tribunal, and if convicted, and likely will be, pay that price for their treason. Sorry, not sorry. Yeah, I love America. I'm a warrior. I'm a patriot. You know. So, anyway, y'all think about it. Biggie loves you.